Yo, what's going on, guys? Seth Spartan here, nutrition, training, and hormone expert and Prometheus Pro bodybuilder with Prometheus HRT, the world's best testosterone and hormone replacement clinic. Use my code Spartan to save on either testosterone or HGH replacement therapy or peptides or Anavar, Anadrol, and the list goes on as long as you qualify. Guys, without any further ado, this is Ephedrine unleashed like you've never heard it before. Guys, we're going to go through all the pros, unbiased, uncensored, everything you could ever want or need to know when talking about Ephedrine. From there, we're going to jump on over into the cons, talk about all of the cons with Ephedrine and also some not so well known cons. We're going to touch on those as well. From there, we're going to drop down and talk about dosing or dosages regarding Ephedrine and also what is going to be the best in terms of safety and also to maximize performance. After dosage, we're going to finish up with any extra additional information that people plain and simple don't talk about or they just don't know in the first place. So guys, without any further ado, I'm Seth Spartan. This is Ephedrine Unleashed. Here we go. Starting the pros. Pros, Ephedrine. Ephedrine is an alpha and beta adrenergic receptor agonist. What does this mean? Well, guys, we already did a video on clenbuterol unleashed, so I'm going to run off of this a little bit. What is clenbuterol? Clenbuterol is a beta-2 adrenergic receptor agonist, meaning that when clenbuterol enters the bloodstream, it's going to attach onto beta-2 receptor sites and stimulate that receptor. And what we know from clenbuterol, in a very powerful and also long-acting mechanism, that's going to happen. With Ephedrine, Ephedrine is not like clenbuterol. Ephedrine blows the doors off of fat burning. Why? Why? Ephedrine is not just a beta-2 adrenergic receptor agonist. It is a beta adrenergic receptor agonist, meaning that it's not just limited to beta-2 receptor binding, okay? It's going to bind to all the different beta receptor sites, not just beta-2. So you're getting a much bigger or wider scope of fat-burning effects, powerful fat-burning effects, and mechanism of action. We're not done yet. It's not just a beta adrenergic receptor agonist. It is also an alpha and beta adrenergic receptor agonist, meaning what? It's going to bind all the alpha receptor sites as well to varying degrees of potency. So again, clenbuterol, just a beta-2 adrenergic receptor agonist. Ephedrine is an alpha and beta adrenergic receptor agonist, meaning what? When ephedrine, and guys, for purposes of this video, whenever I talk about ephedrine, I am referring to ephedrine hydrochloride or ephedrine HCl, which is the best and most potent form of pharmaceutical grade ephedrine that you can use for whatever reason, all right? Okay, having said that, with ephedrine being a powerful alpha and beta adrenergic receptor agonist, this means when ephedrine is taken orally or in some cases injectable, of course you wouldn't do that unless they're giving it to you in the hospital to treat a medical condition. When ephedrine is taken, enters the bloodstream, it's going to bind not just all of the different alpha receptor sites and also on the fat cells, but all the beta receptor sites, including on the fat cells as well, thereby doing what? Greatly, drastically increasing fat burning utilization to the absolute maximum, unlike clenbuterol. And clenbuterol is still an extremely powerful, potent fat burner just because of the long duration of action on the beta-2 receptor sites, but in terms of ephedrine is going to rip off body fat like nobody's business. We're going to talk about that in just a second in the pros, but to understand, this has to be covered because you have to understand what ephedrine is in the first place and also compare it to what we already know with clenbuterol. So just milligram per milligram, looking at what ephedrine is compared to clenbuterol, we can see that, the fat burning gate, so to speak, with clenbuterol is maybe this big, and with ephedrine, it is this big, all right? Moving on in the pros, Ephedrine Unleashed. What is the half-life with ephedrine hydrochloride. Half-life, we are talking 3 to 6 hours. Mechanism of action regarding the half-life of ephedrine HCl. Now, why is this important? Two reasons. Two reasons that this is a great thing for bodybuilding, fitness, athletics, performance, whatever you're talking about. We're going to talk about the cons full, but I'm going to talk about the pros like nobody's business to keep everything, as always, unbiased, uncensored, and fair. So why is this half-life extremely advantageous? Number one, shorter half-life means that you can take it and have it hit your system hard, fast when you need it, and it's out. Caffeine half-life, right around 6 to 8 hours, depending on metabolism of that person. When compared to caffeine, guys, we're only talking 3 to 6 hours. And if you're in the gym training hard or working out, this is likely even shorter, okay? So half-life, boom, take it, hits all the receptor sites really hard, and you take it when you need it, and then guess what? When ephedrine's out of your system, upregulation of alpha receptor sites and beta receptor sites. So you're not going to have that desensitization problem that we could be talking about, or that we already did cover and talk about with clenbuterol. Now, pay attention. This is also important. When talking about alpha and beta adrenergic receptor agonists, with dosage, in regards to dosing, there is a preferred or best protocol, not just for safety, but for performance with ephedrine. So make sure you stick around till we get to talking about dosage, or go ahead and skip there if you don't feel like listening to all of the important cons. All right, moving on to the pros. Here we go. And this is the pro that you guys have all been waiting for. Ready for this? Moment of silence for all the other fat burners that exist. And here we go. Ephedrine HCl is the best fat burner of all time. Ephedrine is the best fat burner of all time in all existence, period, full stop. Why? We already talked about enough, covered all the bases with it being an alpha, a full alpha and beta adrenergic receptor agonist. But how does this play out in the real world when we're talking about fat burning? We are talking about ephedrine HCl, or if you want to just call it ephedrine, we are talking, it plays out in the real world as the best fat burner of all existence, of all time, all right? This is the truth with ephedrine HCl. Now, this does not mean go and rush out and get your hands on this stuff. I'm going to talk about the cons, but the thing is that giving credit where credit's due in terms of bodybuilding, fitness, athletics, and in terms of burning fat and ripping off body fat, there is nothing that comes close to ephedrine. Not clenbuterol, not albuterol, not caffeine, not any other stimulant. Ephedrine is the best. And how do I know? How do I know? In the real world, not just from looking at the data, because I have used ephedrine hydrochloride, pharmaceutical grade ephedrine hydrochloride. I've used it. It is completely legal in Canada. In the US, it's not legal. We'll talk about why it's not legal later on. It's not as important as getting through all the pros first. But if you go into Canada, ephedrine HCl is completely legal to buy as a supplement. And, you know, I have used pharmaceutical grade ephedrine HCl when I was up by Canada. So in terms of comparing, guys, ephedrine to clenbuterol, caffeine, albuterol, any other stimulant for burning fat, there is nothing as powerful on this planet for burning fat and ripping off fat as ephedrine, if we are talking about stimulants. All right, we'll talk about HGH in a little bit. But moving on in the pros. Ephedrine. Extreme fat burning effect. I already completely went off on this point before, ephedrine being the best fat burner of all time. So why am I listing it again? Because I made a statement, the last pro, and this statement we're going to get into why it is in general, not comparing it to anything. So ephedrine, extreme fat burning effect. I already talked about the short half-life, being able to take it when you need it for cardio, the gym, whatever. Short half-life, in, out, take it when you need it. and also the short half-life, giving you a much needed increase in receptor sensitivity, aka you're fighting desensitization with that short half-life. You can take it in and out once daily and not have desensitization. However, the extreme fat burning effect can be chalked up to what we've already talked about the first 5 minutes, being ephedrine. What ephedrine is a powerful alpha and beta adrenergic receptor agonist. Binds all alpha receptors, not just, alpha 2 or beta 2, binds all alpha receptors, binds all beta receptors completely, indiscriminately, all right? Some more selective than others, but it's going to bind all of them, all right? So this is why this works so well. Moving on to the pros. Ephedrine. Whew, bet you guys weren't ready for this one. Ephedrine, extreme performance booster. Again, I have used ephedrine HCl, pharmaceutical grade ephedrine HCl. Ephedrine is an extreme performance booster, period, full stop. Okay? Now, why is this? Let's talk about adrenaline for a second. Let's say you go to the gym, you get all amped up and you're hitting a hard workout, a bunch of guys or whatever. Let's say you're squatting, all right? Your adrenaline's going, you're squatting. So think about it this way. Adrenaline is a performance booster, right? Your body releases adrenaline in response to stress or nervous system stimulation. The adrenaline increases the contractile power of your muscles and motor units, and also gives you central nervous system stimulation to best produce neurological strength results in the game or in whatever sports you're doing, right? All right? How does it do this? Well, focusing on the same system, adrenaline itself will bind alpha and beta adrenergic receptor sites, much like ephedrine. Of course, here's the thing. Your body is only going to release so much adrenaline, and yeah, that's really the take home. Your body's only going to release so much adrenaline to help with whatever you're doing in sports and performance. Ephedrine basically circumnavigates that. It goes around that, because you can take, whatever dosage you want, and also not just is your body only going to release so much adrenaline, but also the body can not run out of adrenaline. I guess it can run out of adrenaline, but your body is going to not, if you're consistently training hard or at a sporting event, your body's only going to release so much in the first place, and also you can have adrenal fatigue. Go look up what that means. But with ephedrine, you can circumnavigate that. You can use ephedrine as a performance booster by taking this stuff and directly stimulating these receptor sites, same as you would with ephedrine, or same as it would with your body's natural adrenaline, or no, that's right, exactly, point end there. So now you can see why ephedrine, is an extreme performance booster when we're talking about sports and, Olympics and anything else, and why this has been highly sought after. All right, moving on in the pros. Ephedrine Unleashed. You guys probably saw this one coming from a mile away. Extreme energy booster. Ephedrine, or ephedrine HCl, is an extreme energy booster. The first time I ever used ephedrine HCl, again, it's completely legal in Canada, so when I was up by Canada using ephedrine HCl, even taking, the first time I took any was I think it was 8 milligrams, which is, a very low considered a very low dose. 8 milligrams, that hits, and it feels like you put a Superman cape on, you're ready to jump, just like you can do anything, all right? So in terms of being an extreme performance booster, it is also an extreme energy booster. You can go from 0 to 100, as soon as this stuff hits your system. It is no joke. It is extremely powerful of an energy booster. And people mix ephedrine and caffeine all the time, especially in Canada. I think you can buy them in stacks, over the counter. But, you could use it with a little bit of caffeine if you wanted to, but if you're not using caffeine, you could just use, you know, if you didn't want to use just caffeine, you can use just ephedrine and get all of the performance, fat burning, everything effects. People just use it with a little bit of caffeine, I think just because they're, you know, used to taking caffeine. So that would be it. I'm going to give my recommendation. Do not ever, if this is your first time ever taking ephedrine, I'm not recommending you guys to do anything like that. Do everything legally, safely, under doctor supervision. Don't take a drug, you know, because anybody tells you to. And I am not telling anybody to take this. I'm just going through all the pros, unbiased, uncensored, and then from the cons, we're going to do the same thing. Having said all that, if it is going to be your first time taking ephedrine HCl, do not take it with caffeine. Take it alone, and I'm going to give a dosage, a starting dosage, a minuscule dosage of 4 milligrams. And I'm going to talk about why you should start extremely low with ephedrine. We're going to talk about heart attack risk also with this compound. All right. Let's finish up with the pros with ephedrine, and then we're going into the cons. Here we go. Ephedrine, unleashed. Finish up with the pros. This is the take-home message, guys, of the pros. Ephedrine has no equal. There is no fat-burning drug or compound on this planet that you can take that will do as much fat burning as ephedrine. All right, there's nothing. Not just that, but there is nothing that is a performance booster like ephedrine or an extreme energy booster like ephedrine. You know, the only thing I could compare that to would be like taking straight adrenaline, which is extremely dangerous, and I would never recommend this, even though people do this anyway in Olympics and other sports. But you know, it has no equal. That's the bottom line. And talk about the pros. If we're talking extreme fat burning, extreme performance gain, extreme energy boost, nothing does it like ephedrine. Okay, 3 to 6 hour half-life too, so it's perfect for using it around whatever you want. Not telling you to do that again, but I'm just laying everything out unbiased, uncensored. I guess let's do this. Let's compare this real quick to, no, you know what? I'm going to save that for later. We'll do a comparison between, ephedrine, clenbuterol, caffeine, albuterol, and all the other stims at the very end. And if you don't want to watch until the very end, I'll give you the cake right now. Whether it's clenbuterol, ephedrine, caffeine, albuterol, any other stimulant, ephedrine kills it, blows it out of the water, all right? All right, having said that, let's get over on into the cons. Whew. All right, cons with ephedrine. This is the biggest con that you need to know about. You guys ready for this? Please pay attention. Please pay attention. With ephedrine or ephedrine HCl, the biggest con is none other than heart attack. One of the reasons why ephedrine was banned in the US, the United States, was, well, actually there's 2 reasons. I might as well give the 2 reasons. First reason why ephedrine HCl was banned in the US was because you have all of these not so good people deciding to take ephedrine HCl and, you know, synthesize methamphetamine from ephedrine. So what people would do is they would buy tons and tons of these ephedrine packs, and they would basically, you know, make labs and try to they would buy tons of ephedrine and turn it into methamphetamine. Unfortunately, all right, that's so one of the reasons why ephedrine is banned in the US is not because of a huge safety issue, okay? Ephedrine is not a lot more dangerous than something like caffeine. It's more dangerous than caffeine, but not a lot. You know, and compared to alcohol, I would say it's probably around the same as alcohol if we're talking about, you know, risk, okay? But, okay, biggest con with ephedrine is heart attack. Why is it banned in the US? First reason is because people would go out and buy tons of ephedrine and make it into meth, which is completely screwed up and wrong, and what else can I say on that? Second reason ephedrine was banned in the US. And it starts with baseball players. in the United States, one of the reasons why everything is illegal is because baseball players will go out and abuse it. I don't know if they just all have a screw loose or what's going on, but you know, whether we're talking about, you know, anabolic steroids, whether we're talking about you need a prescription for Viagra, or, you know, all sorts of, we're talking about ephedrine. You know, a lot of the reason why it's illegal is because baseball players will get their hands on it and abuse it, and, you know, this is just, you know, how things happen in the U.S., unfortunately. You know, Canada really doesn't have much baseball, so, you know, ephedrine is still legal in their country. Okay, so having said that, with ephedrine, we already went through the first reason, but, you know, in the United States, people used to go, you know, baseball players especially, they would go and they would take a bunch of ephedrine, HCl, you know, for performance, you know, yeah, as a performance enhancer before their games or whatever else. And I remember reading about one of these baseball players, took a bunch of ephedrine, you know, took way too much ephedrine, had a heart attack, died, something like that. All right. So what do we get as in response to this? It is banned in the U.S. Go to Canada, you can buy this over the counter as much as you want, like Benadryl. Anyways, when talking about ephedrine, biggest con, as I've stated, you know, three times over, is heart attack. Why? Why is it heart attack? If you go to the gas station right now, if you go to the gas station and you buy a couple Red Bulls or a couple Monsters, you know, actually Red Bull doesn't have that much caffeine. Let's say you go and you buy a couple Monsters or Red Bulls or whatever. I just said not to say Red Bulls. If you go to the gas station, guys, my brain's moving at like 1,000,000 miles an hour, okay? I haven't shot a video in a while, I'm excited. If you go to the gas station, you buy a Monster, a Rockstar, or whatever else, and you have 2 or 3 of those, you can cause very easily a heart attack. And this has happened plenty of times in the United States. Somebody drinks too many energy drinks and they have a heart attack. So, and the same thing with caffeine is the exact same thing with ephedrine. If you take too much, the biggest negative con is heart attack from overdose, overstimulation to be exact. Now, we're talking about ephedrine. Is it easier to overdose on ephedrine than caffeine? Yes, I would say yes, absolutely. Why? Because caffeine works not just by, you know, by blocking adenosine receptors in the brain, but also caffeine. A lot of caffeine's main effects happens. Why? Because caffeine enters the bloodstream. Yes, blocks adenosine, keeps you from getting tired, but also caffeine will increase adrenal hormones in the human body. So you take caffeine, you have a cup of coffee, adrenaline increases in the human body, and adrenaline will thereby give you not just fat burning and performance and energy increases, but also it'll make your, you know, heart rate go way up. It's a central nervous system stimulant. So caffeine exerts its effects, and also this plays into overdose. Caffeine will exert its effects indirectly by caffeine stimulating adrenaline in the human body. And if you don't drink caffeine very often, then this effect is going to be increased. If you take more caffeine, it's going to be increased even more. You guys get the idea. So caffeine, the effect on fat burning, performance, energy level is all pretty much indirect, mediated through adrenaline and cortisol, etc. So caffeine will stimulate this, which stimulates that. With the ephedrine, it's not like that. Ephedrine, it's not like that whatsoever. When you take ephedrine HCl, this enters the bloodstream and it will directly bind these receptor sites. It doesn't need to stimulate adrenaline to, you know, it doesn't have to stimulate anything else indirectly. It will directly stimulate alpha and beta adrenergic receptor sites. So just from looking at that, it goes from being an indirect with caffeine to a direct stimulator. So in regards to ephedrine, are you more likely to have a heart attack from using ephedrine than caffeine? Yes, yes. However, having said that, it still can be safely used, like most drugs. Okay, so this just has to be said though. Biggest con with ephedrine is heart attacks, same as caffeine or most stimulants. Moving on in the cons. Whew, I covered that one full, but I would rather give you guys more information than less so people know what is going on. And please, fact check me, look all this stuff up for yourself, and, you know, it is quite amazing how some of these drugs work in the human body. Moving on to the cons. Talked about heart attack. Con number 2 is heart damage. Now why? Why is there heart damage from ephedrine HCl? Easy question to answer. First way that your heart can get damaged from using too much ephedrine. So heart attack, risk from using too much ephedrine, and heart damage, con number 2 from using much ephedrine. Why? There's 2 mechanisms of action. Number 1 is myocardial ischemia. Myocardial ischemia, what does this mean? This basically means when your heart muscle itself, the heart itself, the cells get starved of oxygen and they start to die off. This happens when people get heart attacks or clogged up arteries or, clots. So heart damage, route number 1, or con number 2 is heart damage. How does this happen? Route number 1, myocardial ischemia. And those of you that have studied ephedrine or caffeine or stimulants, should already know why this happens. Why does heart damage from myocardial ischemia happen with ephedrine, caffeine, or any other central nervous system stimulant? Because when these drugs work, and in the case of ephedrine, when these drugs work, they do not vasodilate blood vessels, they vasoconstrict. They constrict your blood vessels, which increases blood pressure, but also makes it so that the arteries can shrink. If you take too much, they can shrink too much, and you can actually limit the amount of blood flow to heart and vital organs, which is dangerous, all right? So your body, we know your body regulates blood pressure by how dilated blood vessels, arteries, veins are. So first way that you can have heart damage by taking too much ephedrine is myocardial ischemia, where blood vessels shrink too much, or arteries shrink too much to the heart, and the heart is not getting enough blood. And this is going to happen from too much ephedrine, or too much ephedrine and also too much exercise, and your body just can't keep up. Moving on. Second route of heart damage, we are talking high strain or overuse causing damage. Now this is less likely, but this can happen if somebody is using ephedrine, way too much. If somebody is using too much ephedrine for too long, they're taking it every single day, multiple times a day, and their heart is just getting pounded. It's getting pounded. The heart can take a lot. The heart is a strong, powerful muscle. However, the heart needs rest. The heart rate has to slow down. The heart has to regenerate, same as the skeletal muscle, all right? So in terms of heart damage, yes, you can have heart damage from myocardial ischemia, but you can also have heart damage from high strain. We're talking overuse causing damage. And this is why you see people that abuse recreational drugs, they have heart damage in a lot of cases. Why? Because from taking cocaine or methamphetamines, the heart is just, honestly, plain simple terms, it is just worn too hard. It's worn too hard, and it hasn't had a chance to recuperate or rest or recover and just take a break, all right? It's working too hard for too long. All right, moving on to the cons. Next on our list is high blood pressure. Now this is obvious. I just explained the mechanism from vasoconstriction. High blood pressure will increase with ephedrine or any other central nervous system stimulant. Why? Because arteries or blood vessels will constrict, increasing blood pressure. All right, we're talking again about alpha and beta adrenergic receptor agonists, which are, which can fall into the same camp as stimulants and do oftentimes. All right, so high blood pressure increases. This can cause, number one, what? We already talked about heart attack and heart damage, but this can cause kidney damage from too much over long periods of time. The higher your blood pressure goes, added to how long this goes on for, increases likelihood of kidney damage. Why? Because high blood pressure, again, how high it gets for how long, you have these little nephrons inside your kidneys. The nephrons are basically these little bulbs with the veins coming out that filter out blood. And guess what? When blood pressure gets high, these nephrons get damaged. They break, all right? They're very fragile. And this is also why you can have, you can have kidney damage, in mixed martial arts, because people are smacking the kidneys, and then well, you can have any kind of damage, I guess, with MMA. All right, so don't do MMA, guys. Moving on. So high blood pressure leading to kidney damage or high blood pressure leading to artery damage. You can damage your arteries themselves from having too high of blood pressure. The arteries, again, they're a tissue. Same as anything else. They can take a lot, but they can be damaged. And we're talking about high blood pressure, kidney damage, artery damage from too much ephedrine over too long a period of time. Especially if somebody's taking either too much ephedrine per day or they're taking it multiple times a day. All right, moving on to the less serious cons, but they're cons nonetheless. Ephedrine, insomnia. You're going to have wicked insomnia if you take this too close to bed. Anxiety. I can attest to that. Anxiety if you take too much. Loss in appetite. Well, this can be a pro for dieting, and it kind of is. But in terms of, somebody taking ephedrine who's, anorexic or doesn't need to lose weight, this can be a con. Impaired circulation to extremities. Again, it's a vasoconstrictor. You're going to, have bad blood flow to your extremities if you take too much ephedrine. Irregular heartbeat. All right, and that can be serious if it's pushed too hard. But anyways, guys, this is the full list of cons when talking about ephedrine. Now, we're going to drop down and talk about dosing. Talk to your doctor before you do anything. Always do everything safely, legally through a doctor under doctor's supervision. Having said all of that, let's talk about dosage. This is my professional recommendation to you guys. Whether with a prescription, without a prescription, if it's legal in your country, whatever, do everything safely, legally the best you can. But if you're not going to listen to anything else in this video, please listen to my dosage recommendation. Again, I've used pharmaceutical grade ephedrine HCl myself. It's legal in Canada. You can go across the border and you can, buy this stuff like you would Benadryl. Having said all that, with ephedrine, the first time I had never taken ephedrine before. The first time I took ephedrine HCl, I took the lowest dosage. I took one tablet being 8 milligrams. When I took 8 milligrams, I don't think I took it with caffeine either. I did not take it with caffeine. I took it alone. I took 8 milligrams. What happened? Rapid heart rate, and I know my blood pressure shot sky high because I got a bloody nose just from, I got a little bit of a bloody nose just from taking 8 milligrams of ephedrine HCl. And that's not with caffeine. I am so glad I did not go out and do what these bodybuilders do. And they say, I'm going to pop 25 milligrams. I've never taken it before. All right. I can see how people, or they take 50 milligrams, like these baseball players, they just pop a bunch of ephedrine and they have a heart attack. Okay, guys, ephedrine can be used extremely safely, done right, especially, you're talking to your doctor, you're healthy and you're doing everything safely. But here's the thing. Start low, and by low I mean low. Don't even, I started low, and I still, had a huge increase in blood pressure, and I got a bloody nose, just a rapid heart rate, bloody nose, increase in blood pressure. Why? Because my body was not used to it, and I'd never taken this before. Here's my message to you: if you're going to take ephedrine HCl, if you haven't taken it ever, or you're going to take it for the first time in a long time, this is my recommendation. 4 milligrams of ephedrine HCl. 4 milligrams, that's it. Take it alone, no caffeine. All right, and then the next day, everything's fine. You have no sides. You can go up to 8 milligrams. Very, very, very slowly, you can increase the dose with this. But do not take a lot of this stuff the first time you use it because your body is going to be extremely sensitive to it. And honestly, do not take it with caffeine. All right, it's gonna make the effect stronger, which can be, some people like that. But if you're using caffeine, if you use caffeine regularly, don't use the caffeine for that day, and just take a very low dose of ephedrine alone, and then you can slowly either increase or add a little bit of caffeine to it. But guys, be extremely cautious with ephedrine HCl. It is extremely powerful and potent. It can be used safely, but it needs to be respected. Having said that, and obviously people are respecting it in Canada for the most part, because otherwise they would have banned it by now. So anyways, Well, again, I talked about they have hockey players in Canada. They don't have many baseball players. All right, people aren't going to take a pack of ephedrine. Having said that, so starting dosage, my professional recommendation to you, again, talk to your doctor before you do anything, but my professional recommendation is start with 4 milligrams taken alone. And then the next day you want to take 8, or the next day you want to take 4 and add a little caffeine, whatever. Slowly work your way up. And if you haven't taken this in a while, start with a low dosage. So dosage is this: 4 to 25 milligrams per day. I'm talking about 4 to 25 milligrams of ephedrine HCl taken every 24 hours. Do not exceed that. Now, this is going to be a lot lower than what you're going to hear bodybuilding, fitness, athletic coaches or gurus say, and also this is going to be a lot less than what if you go to Canada and you buy this from a health food store or whatever else for fat loss. This is going to be a lot less than what they say. But I am telling you guys as a friend, as my professional recommendation to you, just take less than what you think you need. And even 25 milligrams. Again, my dosage is 4 to 25 milligrams every 24 hours, not exceeded in 24 hours. And again, this is less than when it's what people advise in Canada. And the thing is that this, guys, I don't ever see, if you've got a cardio session, you got a weightlifting session, whatever it is, I personally cannot see why you would ever, even if you're 200 pound, 250 pound male, I cannot see why you would ever need to take more than 25 milligrams of ephedrine HCl. This is an extremely powerful, potent fat burner, performance booster, and energy booster. So, at the very max, I cannot see why somebody would ever take more than 25 milligrams of ephedrine with maybe 50 to 100 milligrams of caffeine. I cannot see that. All right, and I would never exceed 25 milligrams taken in 24 hours. Yes, you can increase fat burning if you take, you work your way up to 25 milligrams. You take 25 milligrams in the morning session, 25 milligrams in the evening session. But honestly, guys, I don't see why you would do that. It's just think about your heart. You can get the performance gains, but I would not dose this stuff more than once a day. All right, and let's talk about this. Let's talk about safety and desensitization to ephedrine. So, with clenbuterol, if you've watched my Clenbuterol Unleashed video, we talked about desensitization a lot, how to dodge desensitization, clenbuterol being a beta-2 adrenergic receptor agonist. We talked about ephedrine, how it is an alpha and beta adrenergic receptor agonist, and it binds all classes or subunits. Now, in the same way with clenbuterol, ephedrine will also desensitize hard and fast if you're keeping this in your system around the clock. Now, I don't know why you would do that unless you're trying to kill yourself. But the bottom line is this. Ephedrine will desensitize in the same way that clenbuterol does. Period. Full stop. However, if you want to limit or reduce desensitization to the very minimum, so if you want to get the very least desensitization with the most gains in terms of fat loss, performance boosting, and energy booster, you want to take this only once a day so that your body resensitizes. And this is possible with the very short 3 to 6 hour half-life. It's going to be closer to 3 hours if you're training really hard and your metabolism is spiked up. All right? So if you want to be as safe as possible, and keep your heart in the best condition possible. So let's talk about safety real quick. If you want to be as safe as possible and take care of your heart, avoid all the negative side effects. If you want to be as safe as possible, take this once a day so it's out of your system. So it's boom, that's for safety. And also, if you want as many gains as possible with ephedrine in terms of fat loss, performance, and energy boosting, if you want as much gain as possible from whatever dose of ephedrine you're taking, boom, take it once a day, either before your weights or before your cardio, or do both at the same time. I could care less. So here's the thing. For both safety, for gains in terms of fat burning, performance, and energy boosting, take it once a day. All right? All right? Could you theoretically burn more fat if you take it twice a day? Yeah, you could for the first couple days. But again, guess what? You're going to desensitize faster, so you're better off taking ephedrine once a day, and then you can keep dosages lower anyways. We're talking 4 to 25 milligrams If you're going to take it with caffeine, make sure you work your way up slowly with the caffeine. Oh, all right. That's it, guys, talking about dosage. Let's finish up with any extra additional information you need to know, and we are out of here. Ay, ay, ay. I went full bore with this video, but this needs to be said. Ephedrine gets me pumped. And if anybody has used Ephedrine HCl, they know exactly what I'm talking about. This is probably why Bumstead has won so many Olympians. Kidding. You know, he has great genetics. He puts in the hard work. You know, he diets hard, but I guarantee you one of the reasons he is showing up so shredded every year is because he is using a lot of Ephedrine HCl. Obviously, if it's legal like coffee or Benadryl in your country, why wouldn't you, all right? Again, Chris Bumstead lives in Canada, so that's why I'm saying this. Let's finish up with any extra additional information. This is the take-home message. Ephedrine, namely Ephedrine HCl or ephedrine hydrochloride, is the best fat burner in the entire world, period, full stop. It blows clenbuterol out of the water, it blows caffeine out of the water, it blows albuterol out of the water, it blows every single fat-burning stimulant that we have on this planet out of the water. All right? Period. For all the reasons we talked about in the pros. If you wanted to compare it to HGH, and we'll compare it to HGH for a second. If you pitted HGH against ephedrine HCl, I would err, and you can't even compare these two. That's comparing a powerful alpha and beta stimulant to HGH, which is a pituitary hormone. They're as far opposite as you can get. But if you had to pick one, if we're talking short-term, ephedrine, better for fat burning. If we're talking long-term fat burning, HGH is better, all right? So the thing is that, you know, HGH, and if I could only pick one, I would do HGH. Why? You have high HGH levels, you're going to be ripping off fat. You can take that, if you're taking HGH peptides or HGH, guess what? I can burn and rip off body fat while I'm sleeping. I can rip off body fat while I'm awake. I can rip off body fat all day long, all day, every day if I'm using HGH or HGH peptides, all right? So HGH in terms of fat burner, long-term in general, there's nothing like it. I'd pick HGH. However, you know, short-term, if we're talking about a short-term rapid fat burner, short-term usage, you know, you're taking this around your workout, ephedrine is going to give you better results. But anyways, again, comparing, you know, apples to like peanut butter, all right? That's how far apart HGH and ephedrine is. But in terms of being the best fat burner in the world, in terms of being a stimulant compound that you can take, nothing beats ephedrine HCl. The only other fat burner that comes close to this is HGH, and that's for more long-term usage. Extra, what else do you have to, okay, let's finish out with this. So, and ephedrine HCl is also the best in the world for performance and energy booster. Ephedrine is just like, you know, taking a whopping dose of adrenaline, all right? You know, except it's longer acting, all right? You take ephedrine and you feel like you can fly to the moon, basically, all right? That's how much energy and performance boost you get from ephedrine. It's not going to, it allows you to perform at a higher level for longer, but it's not going to do too much of, you know, if you're at a powerlifting meet and you know, people are screaming at you, you're getting hyped, you had some coffee or whatever, you know, and you're just getting all pumped, you're still going to be, your strength is going to be pretty close to what it would be if you took ephedrine before. However, ephedrine shines because guess what? You can do set after set after set, or like an hour, you know, at an extremely high level versus, you know, if you're training using your body's natural adrenaline from getting all hyped up, listening to music, coffee, caffeine, whatever. It's going to be shorter acting, if that makes sense. But anyways, guys, the bottom line is this. Ephedrine is the best fat burner in existence, and also for performance and being an energy booster. And this is it, guys. Ephedrine HCl has no equal, period. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. We'll end this video here. And really, you know, in terms of safety, it also has no equal in terms of risk to reward. But there's always going to be people like the baseball players I talked about that are going to say, hey, here's a packet of ephedrine. I'm going to take the whole packet. All right. There's going to be people that do that. There's people that do that with Monster energy drinks, and that, you know, I've read about in the news too. You know, somebody drinks 3 Monsters and they're in the ER for a heart attack. So there's always going to be people that abuse things. But in terms of fat burner, performance, energy booster, and also safety, ephedrine HCl has no equal. And we'll leave it at that. Guys, I'm Seth Spartan. Stay safe, stay healthy, do everything safely, legally through your doctor, and we are out of here.